35, number 35. So, the notion of cause, well, what it is important, a cause is defined that from which something else proceeds with a dependence in being. The characteristic of cause is not only two phenomena following one another, but having a depending link, dependent. The idea of dependence between the first and the second event, second fact. Okay, that is causality. Is a principle. A principle is more extended than a cause. For example, the first principle of thinking, we saw that principle of causality, principle of being, matter and form, act and potency, we saw that. Now, a principle, it is from which something proceeds in any way, whatever. But a causality, it is when something proceeds from another with a dependence in being, in existence. Okay? So we must distinguish also from condition and from occasion. That is the object of our class, that second part. I go to just after Father Wagner. The essential notion of a cause is that it is a positive principle. Now we suppress here privation. Privation is not the cause of, it's a condition. For example, I cannot receive news if I already have the news. So I must be deprived from thing to receive something. Okay? So it is a positive principle existing some influence on the perfection or the thing that is coming to be. Or if you want, that's interesting. It's influx into being. Influx into being. A being in itself or a being in another. Any kind of mode of being. For example, you are joyful, you receive a car, you learn that your brother was killed in an accident, immediately you change, your feelings are not the same. There is a change in your life because there is a cause in your mode of being, a quality of joy become absence of joy, sadness. Okay? It's not only a priority in time, it is a priority in causality. We saw that. We remember when we studied Pharisees. Post hoc ergo. That means after this fact, therefore the other is. I saw a man walking out of a restaurant. I enter the restaurant. I see a dead man. I see how that man is. That is not a proof. There must be a link between the two events. We distinguish four causes. And we can speak about causality in many levels, four causes, because causality is also an analogical or analogous concept. If you want, there are many ways of exercising causality or having effect on the becoming of a being. Okay? So any cause, in fact, any cause is linked to potency and act. Any cause is linked. We can say the cause is to the effect, like the potency is to act. The cause is potency to produce the effect. So there is a link of causality. Okay. Next page. Well, here we have a general approach, and after that we will study each causality one by one. Well, the general approach. First, any material reality. Here we speak about material reality. Huh? First, as a formal cause. A formal cause is an act. Remember, the material formal cause is to material cause. The form is to matter. And act is to potency. So what is here? What is formal cause? Formal cause is an act. Huh? The act of the matter. Okay? Material cause is potency. Huh? Its cause of being further requires two other causes. And we saw that just before. Huh? We need a matter and we need an agent. It was the last thing we spoke about just before the break. Huh? So we need matter, something in potency, and we need also an agent. And the agent also is in potency to act. Huh? Both are in potency. Okay? So that is called the efficient cause. The agent is the efficient cause. And finally, the agent acts toward an end, for a motive, for a reason, and that we call that final cause. Okay? And we can say everything. We can analyze, that is interesting. We can analyze every material reality using the four causes. If ever you have a problem to speak about something, use that. The two intrinsic causes of the thing, and the extrinsic causes. You know? You can explain any fact. Take any fact, even football, for example, the Super Bowl. You have matter, you have form, you have agent, and you have finality. And you can distinguish all those things. Huh? Interesting. Now a word about condition, and after that about occasion. But we must be attentive that condition is not cause. In fact, condition refers first to the patient, and secondly to the agent. When we speak about condition, most of the time we speak about the condition of the patient, because everything is received according to the mode of the receiver. But also, that depends on the agent both. Huh? Okay? First, a condition is that which makes possible, makes ready, prepares the way for an efficient cause to act. For example, the air, oxygen, are necessary for life, but they are not the cause of life. They are a condition. A catalyst in chemistry. A catalyst does not enter the reaction, but it is a factor of the reaction. Light, for example, light here is not the cause of your capacity of reading, but it is a condition for you to read. If there is no light, we stop reading. Okay? Secondly, a condition may be referred to the agent and to the patient, and so is intimately related to efficient and to material cause. Remember just before we saw that matter and agent. So condition is related to the matter of the thing. If I want to sculpt on the wood, I have to take a wood not too hard. No? And the agent depends, the quality of the sculpture will depend on the quality of the sculptor. Both. Okay? It is a condition. A condition, however, its primary referent is the patient and the subject. Don't forget, everything is received at the manner, according to the disposition of the receiver. Okay? 3. A condition may indicate two things. First, a state or disposition of patient or subject. A condition of the patient, of the subject. For example, I teach in class, if you are attentive, it is a good condition for the success of my class. Okay? Secondly, may connote the absence or the removal of an obstacle. For example, the taking off of a cork on the wine bottle is a condition to drink wine. If we cannot take off the cork, no wine. That is a negative, is an absence of obstacle. So we have, but the most important it is the affirmative. But also, for example, if I want to teach, and if there is a drill just outside, I must stop the drill to be able to talk. When you teach catechism in school, the student has to be quiet if you want to. They listen to you. For example, I continue. On the latter, the absence of obstacle is we call a removens prohibent. That means we have to take off the way any obstacle which impede the agent of acting and the patient of receiving the message. But it is a negative, but it is necessary also. For example, to listen to a beautiful concert, one must stop his cell phone. Must stop his babbling, his chatting. You have to listen. Sometimes I listen to a concert and somebody says, "Hey, horrible." I was watching a movie, when the monks of Tiberian in Algeria were killed. There's a movie about, those monks were killed, and it is very tragic, a silence. And the woman, she needed to take probably some peppermint for her cough. Horrible. Why? Because the condition to listen to the movie, to share with the suffering was disturbed by that impediment. Okay, next page. There is, we call sometimes a condition sine qua non. We see that in law. It is a necessary condition. A condition which stipulates an absolute requirement that must be met for the cause to function effectively. For example, to marry legally in many states, you must be 18 years old plus 1 day. Because if you marry on your 18 years old, it is not legal. The day after is legal. It must be finished. You become 18 at midnight. At night, not at the beginning. During all day of your birth, you are still in the year preceding. Okay? That is a condition sine qua non. To celebrate the Mass, I must be ordained a priest. That is a condition sine qua non. Okay? Occasion now. But an occasion, it differs from a condition. In that its primary referent is not the subject acted upon, but rather the agent that acts. So occasion influences the agent. Occasion is related to the agent. Why? Because the agent is the one who acts. So he is conditioned. He is influenced. Excuse me, he is conditioned, of course, but he is influenced. First, secondly, occasion may be defined which affords an opportunity for a cognitive agent to exist is causality. But we see that especially when we study the human act. We see that we don't act if we have no knowledge of a good. I cannot desire ice cream if I don't know the existence of ice cream. Okay? 3, an occasion may provide a mere opportunity for such an agent to act, or it may serve as a kind of inducement for action. For example, a tavern for a man who likes to drink, for a drunkard is an occasion of drunkenness. An occasion. The tavern is not the cause of those people who drink too much. And the company, the Heineken is not responsible for those who drink too much beer. Okay? Finally, yet, in its proper understanding, an occasion does not strictly cause the agent to act. In fact, an occasion is not a cause. Otherwise, you will be never guilty. Huh? And otherwise, an occasion of sin, if you commit a sin because there is no, suppose you pass and you see $20 on the table here, so nobody is here, you take the $20. That $20 is an occasion of sin, but it's not the cause of your sin. So occasion is not a cause. And sometimes we are inclined to put causality on occasion. So we diminish our responsibility. So what is not causality? Now we take the 4 causes one by one and we try to understand them more deeply. The first form, a formal cause, the word comes from form. The word form comes from forma in Latin, I mean shape, but also forma in Latin means beauty. Formosa means beautiful, and in Espanol, hermosa, the same root for the form, the formal beauty, beautiful, etc. Beautiful, well formed. Next page. In early philosophical usage, form came to signify the intrinsic determinant of quantity. That means a figure, for example, square, cubic, triangle, circular. And then to mean the intrinsic determinant of anything. So they start from the mathematical form of thing and they apply that to any kind of form. And Aristotle, we use that in a broader meaning. Form is a perfection. We put in idea, we put into the matter, a determination of the matter. In a stricter sense, form signifies the intrinsic principle of existence of a material thing. So in a material thing, for example, in a stone or in a cow or in a flower, there are 2 essential causality intrinsic to the thing. And the first causality is matter. So matter is an intrinsic causality of every material reality. And it is an intrinsic principle of existence. A flower cannot exist without a quantity, a matter. A cow cannot exist without a quantity. A man cannot exist without a quantity. Is the reason why when we die, we are no more men. We are no more men. To be a man is to be a rational animal. We have a human soul, but we are not a man. The spirit in heaven, the saints are not men. Strictly speaking, except Jesus and Mary. Because they don't have body, except maybe if God gave them a body, they don't know. Don't know. Okay. Secondly, and definition applies to both accidental and substantial form. Substantial form, for example, the form of a cat, the form of a man, meaning a form having life, substance. Or accidental form, that means the form of the desk here, and the form of the chair, the form of your coat, etc. Third, in a further extended, every species or every nature, what is the species of man? What is the definition? Specific rationality. What is the nature of man? Specific rationality. So species and nature, they are close. They are close. Whether it is in itself material or existent in immaterial, like an angel or so, is called a form, although it may not be strictly a formal principle. Hence, form is sometimes used as synonym of essence and nature. So we can speak about the form of angels. Strictly speaking, we should not say a form for an angel because he has no matter. But sometimes they will use the word form as the synonym for nature or for essence in a broader meaning. But try to stay in the stricter meaning. the form, the matter is linked with form on Earth. Every material thing, living or not living, substantial or not substantial, need a matter, need a principle of determine the potency to be able to be determined. And the principle of determination, of perfection, is the form. The form. So form, is not something cylindric, it's not something square, it's not something big, fat. It is a perfection. It is a determination. That is the meaning we must have as a philosopher. When you speak about the form of baptism, it is a determination, the word put into that water. The form of the sacrament of the Eucharist. Okay? The word form will be used a lot. Form is difficult because it has a lot of many concepts, signification. But what is permanent, all those, it is the notion of perfection, the notion of determination. A form determined. The cubic form determines that object. And the form of the flower determines that plant to be a flower and not to be a tree, or not to be a carrot. Okay? Formal cause is identified with essence. Similarly, the formal cause, as that in virtue of it. No, I don't insist on that. Because in fact, the form is in the essence. What is the essence of the thing? It is the whatness. It is the whatness. What is the whatness? Whatness is known by genus and specific difference. And for example, in man, we have animality and we have rationality. Rationality is the form. Animality is the matter. So we can say here that the essence sometimes is linked with the form. We see, when we speak about the essence of man, we are inclined to think more about his rationality than his animality. But strictly speaking, man is a rational animal. But his specificity is to be rational. So sometimes we are inclined to put an identity between the form, because the form is rationality, and the essence. Of course, the form is determining the essence. The rationality in man is determining the essence of man. But man cannot be reduced only to be a reason, is also an animal. But a cat is also an animal. So what defines man? It is his specificity. He is specifically a rational animal. So we can say the essence is the form is the essence of the thing. Okay? The substance and form, it was determined primary matter. So what gives primary matter an existence? The participation in the nature of the thing, it is the form. So substantial form, what we say substantial form, that is reserved for living beings. Because material beings have no substantial form. Material beings, even a stone, they are not substantial form. Because in fact they are a composite of many atoms together. And they are linked only through gravity or through magnetic attraction, through electronic attraction. But they are, what is make a substantial form? It is a substance, living, it is a substantial form, it is life, the soul, or principle of life. Accidental form, it is for or other material reality which are not substantial form, have no substantial, have no life. For example, a stone, a mountain, a desk, a chair, a table, that accidental form. And when they are destroyed, but when the substantial form is destroyed, it is a total, absolute change from life to non-life. When I cut a tree, I kill the tree. It passed from life to non-life. There is no more substantial form. There is not 1,000 million of forms of atoms of. Okay. So the substance and form is unifying multiplicity. I have 3 trillions of cells in my body. They are unified by my substantial form. Okay? Next, form in the knowing process. You remember when you study philosophy of man, what is knowledge? It is to receive the form of things, of object, into my mind, into my form, to be informed. So my form, my intellect, receive the form of thing, and we call that intentional union. Remember that. The form of the elephant come into my mind. So I am informed by the form of the elephant. I am one, my form is one with the form of the elephant. That is knowledge, you know. So we have to explain that. It is what we study, the theory of knowledge. But essentially knowledge is the receiving of form in other form. Okay? And the condition of that is immateriality. Of course, the elephant does not enter with his atoms. He enters with the form, and the form is not material. Even the form of the desk is not material. It is not substantial, but it is not material. It is the idea, the form, and the determination put into the word here. So the form in my mind informs my intellect. It's interesting, and the word to inform, information, comes from form. To put a form into. NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, when they send information, they send form, and those form enter you. They inform you. So you can be in union with what happened in Syria, or what happened in Egypt, or what happened in Texas. Okay? Next paragraph. Only one form of that kind in the same substrate. That means there is only one form by being, by substantial reality. One substance, one form. Is the reason why, even if man has 3 degrees of life, vegetative, sensitive, and intellective, there is only one form. Assuming all those, we don't have 3 forms, only one form. Because why? Because it is the form which makes the unity of the subject, of the thing. But what makes the unity of this desk? It is the form of the desk put into the. But it makes the unity of your own person. It is your form, your soul, your principle of life. The next page, page 241, paragraph 5. The way a material form comes into being and out of existence. Okay, so a material form comes into being when the composite of which it is the form comes into being. So the form does not exist before the composite. The composite is the whole being. Composite, the whole being. Well, in the case of man, it is body and soul. So those are the principle, intrinsic principle of my. One is material, what is formal. My soul is formal. The soul of the tree is the formal, principle of life in the tree. That principle of life cannot exist before. It cannot exist after. It coexists with the form and the matter together. Form exists with matter when the composite is made. For example, life in man, in the first cell, exists only when the composite is realized, when the first cell is complete and becomes to develop by itself. You know? That is the composite. So there is no reservoir of form. For example, the craftsman here has not a reservoir of form in a heap of wood. Okay, I take that form, no, I put that in the wood. No, it's not like that. The form, the wood of the disk exists and at the same time the disk is made. It does, of course, it exists in his mind, but not in his mind is not the form of the disk. Of this disk is the form in general, like rational animal for any kind of man, any man. But when a baby is born, that baby, that is, his soul, his form exists when the composite exists. Okay?
Father, on the 35.5.5, the way of material form comes into being or out of existence or into existence.
Okay, we have two cases. First you have into being, and you have out of being. For the first paragraph, it is into being.
Into being.
So into being, the soul, or the form, let us say the form, exists when the composite begin to exist. And out, and in the, I speak about any material being, when the being ceases to exist, when the composite does cease to exist, the form disappears. At the same time, it ceases to exist. That means when the body of an animal, of a tree, of a flower, dies, that means, as we call a substantial change from life to non-life. When non-life happens, there is no more form. The form disappears with the composite. It disappears with the composite. Yes.
So is that different from Plato? Because didn't he believe that
Yes.
form was like
For
eternal?
Plato, form are eternal. They have the real existence is the form. We call that exaggerated realism. Okay. I continue now. Number 6. The former causality of the form. We see the form is a cause. How the form is a cause? That is the question here. So it is first an intrinsic cause. Why? Because when a material thing exists, like a man, body and soul, the soul is not outside of the material reality. The form is not outside. It is intrinsic. So in every material reality, you have two intrinsic principles of being. One, it is matter, principle indeterminate, to be determined, determinable. And you have the soul or the form, in the case of living being, the soul. And that is the determining. Okay? But both of them, the soul and the matter, exist intrinsically inside, within. They don't exist outside. For example, the wood of this desk was not a desk before. It received a form. It was a heap of wood, of planks of wood. So there is no desk as long as there is no an intrinsic cause. We call the form of the desk. It's the same for man. You know, your atoms, my atoms, exist since the beginning of the world. Because in chemistry, nothing is created, nothing is annihilated, everything is transformed. I can say my air exists since the beginning of the world. At the Big Bang, they were there. Yeah. If you are a scientist, you are obliged to see that. So matter is existing, but not as air, not as my body. What makes those atoms coming from, in the generical trees? You see, you come from many, imagine that is nothing in comparison of your atoms. Some atoms from carrots from Texas, other atoms from tomatoes, or from Africa, other atoms from bananas from South America, My atom comes everywhere. No? Yes? So, but they are one, they become my body, my person, when there is the intrinsic principle of unity of life, which is the soul. That means the matter and soul are intrinsic causality. Every material thing has two intrinsic causes. Okay? Next paragraph, you have to correct, there is a mistake here. Huh? Point 6. Form and matter, not from. Huh? Number 6.2, 35, 6.2.
Yeah.
From. Form. Oh, will you correct that? Okay, it's corrected. Okay. Form and matter exercise a mutual causality. We say they are co-causes, co-principles. Huh? And they form, we call the composite. The composite is my whole being, my whole person. Huh? So the whole human person is a composite of soul and body. So I cannot define myself only through my intellect, like Descartes. Huh? I cannot define my body, my person, only through my body, like materialist. I define what I am through form and matter. Okay? And both are in mutual influence. And when we study philosophy of man, you saw that how how strong is the unity between body and soul. One of the proof of that is language. Language. Okay. Next paragraph. Form and matter have existence from the extent of the composite. Okay, I already explained that. And to exist, what is important? Paragraph 2. In order to exercise mutual causality, there must be a proper proportion between them. That means matter and form make a composite only if they are proportionate. For example, a stone is not proportionate to become a cat. You know? But atom of hydrogen, oxygen, azote, nitrogen can become, carbon can become my body. Because they can be united by a principle of life. The organic mixture, organic. Okay? Aluminum, iron, as such, I cannot eat iron to subsist. Of course, if I need good blood, I will take pill of iron, but it's so little. I don't eat iron nails as I eat cookies. Okay. So the substratum is the complete being. And the substance is not only my body, the substratum, the supposite, the hypostasis, is my whole being, body and soul. Now I go to page 242. Now the material causality. We already spoke about that. The form is the form of matter. So matter is an intrinsic principle of causality, intrinsic principle of causality. And we have two kinds of matter. Matter is intrinsically determinable. The form is determining, and the matter is determinable. They can be determined by the other. Okay? So we have a primary matter, what is without any determination, and that is determined by substantial force. And we have secondary matter, actuated by accidental force, for example, wood, clay, marble. They can become statue, they can become desk, etc. So notion of material cause. In the wide meaning, material cause are elements, parts, and components of a thing. In the most radical meaning, in philosophy, here we have four possibilities. First, matter is the substrat, the suppositum, under change. Under change. It is when Aristotle wanted to explain, he used that. The form change, but under there is something permanent matter. Secondly, the intrinsic principle that is itself lack of determination. So the prime matter has no determination. That is prime matter. It is also purely potential, incapable of existence at all. Matter by itself has no determination. You know, is the reason why we cannot say matter is the principle of individuation. I am not individuated by matter. I am individuated by quantified matter. Quantified matter. That is the principle of individuation. And immunity capable of receiving determination. Essentially, matter is in potency. to receive form. Matter is in potency to receive form. Okay? Okay. I go to page 243. Efficient causality. So, it is the productive or the transient action initiated by the agent. So the agent exerts a transient action, not a permanent transient. Transient. If, that is important, if an agent be understood as anything capable of initiating a motion or a change, every motion, every change is caused by is produced by a cause. And that is the core of the proof of the existence of God through motion. The first proof. Then the action whereby it first produces such a motion or change is itself exercise of efficient causality. So if there is a change in matter, there is motion in matter, then must be caused by an external cause, extrinsic cause, we call agent, efficient cause. Okay? So, but three, very important. Every agent, moreover, acts insofar as it is in act, according to its form. What is the meaning of that? I cannot give what I don't possess. No? I cannot play the music if I am not a musician. I act according to my form, to my determination, to my actuation. If I am in act to be a musician, a pianist, I can play the piano. If I am not actuated as a musician, I cannot. We cannot give what we don't possess. We cannot give what we are not. Okay? I cannot take care of a sick man, a sick woman, if I am not a physician, a doctor. Okay? So the principle, we act according to what we are. Important in ethics, we act according to what we are. In fact, we act according to our nature. And nature is a principle of activity, the essence as a principle of activity. And that is important in ethics, because we must act according to what we are. We must act according to our nature. If I am rational, I must act according to my rationality. If I am an animal, I must act also according to my animality. Is the reason why man must eat. To eat is a moral obligation. An luxury is not only a physical disease, it's a moral disease. Because you have the duty to eat. When you go to the refectory, you do your duty. Yes, it's true. When you sleep, you accomplish your duty. As an animal, we need to sleep. Because we must act according to our nature. To our nature. Okay, continue. 4. Yet such action is attributed to the supposite, to the hypostasis, to the subsistence, to the substance existing, to the person, from which it originates, and not to the substantial form. That means when I act, if I eat, or if I sing, if I think, if I will, all those actions, biological action, willingly consent, like to eat, or prayer, etc., all those actions are the fruit not only of my form, they are depending on my own person, my own. When I pray, it is my I who pray. When I sleep, it is my I who sleep. I cannot say my body sleep, my own I sleep. My own I pray. Not only a part of my... Sometimes in spirituality we are schizophrenic. We think that prayer is only that. No, it is the whole person, the whole supposed, which is praying, which is studying, which is sleeping. It is your I. It is the reason why you are responsible not only for your intellectual or spiritual action, you are responsible for your material action. You know? If you sleep too long in the morning, you don't go to school, and your eye is responsible. You can see my body, no, your eye, okay? If somebody is drunken, he cannot see my body drink, or my soul was contemplating God. No, it is your own eye that was drunken. Your own eye, okay? So the action comes now, you have many kinds of causality. Huh? You can read that. I will go to number 3, principal and instrumental. We explain that. 6, natural and non-natural. We see that in ethics. Huh? Univocal, equivocal, analogical. We already saw that in logic, and we will see that in theology, natural theology, philosophy of God. We will see that again. Huh? And you go to 10, cause of being and cause of becoming. Huh? That means the cause of your being and the cause of becoming. I give an example of that, the generation. My parents give me my becoming. They did not give me my being. They cannot give my being. Because my being is a spiritual being, they cannot divide their soul. Huh? But they are the cause of my becoming. And God is the cause of my being. Otherwise, they will be God. But they cannot be God because they receive their being from another. So they don't receive their being, they receive their becoming. For example, a sculptor is not, we say he is the cause of the coming, of the being of the statue. It is true and not. Because the marble existed before him. Huh? So he is the cause of the becoming of the marble into a statue. He does not create, he does not give life to the statue if you want. No? He transmits, he put into the marble an idea, but the marble was already there. That is the distinction between to make, to create, and to become. To be in theory, in becoming. We are in becoming. Okay? Because the other will be to create being is to create from nothing. When I create something from something, it is I work for the becoming of the thing. The thing was existing, I give it a new form. Or I allow God to give a form to matter. That is the role. We see that in philosophy of man. Huh? Okay. Instrumental, page 244. If cause and effect are simultaneous, that means like passion and action. You remember when we study relation, action and passion, they are they exist together. The ball I kick and the ball that is kicked, they are together at the same time. They are simultaneous. Okay? Instrumental causality. Well, it is a cause which is subordinate to a principal or superior cause. For example, your pencil is a tool, is an instrumental cause for your capacity of writing. So it depends on you for writing. Huh? You are the principal agent and your pencil is the instrument agent. Well, that is not a big problem when we deal with material things. But when we deal with human beings, for example, a priest is not the principal agent of the consecration of Mass. The principal agent is Jesus Christ.
Instrumental.
But the priest is instrumental. But there is a difference between the priest and your pencil. The pencil is not intelligent, it's not free. Man is free. That is a big problem of the cooperation between God and man. The divine concourse, we see that in philosophy of God. When we study how the power of God can be united to the will of man to do something. You know? Okay? Okay, I go to, so the notion of instrumental cause is important. For example, you remember when you studied the phantasm in philosophy of man? Phantasm is not the cause of our knowledge, but it is the, yes, it's a cause, but it's not the principal cause. The principal cause is the intellect, the agent intellect, you know, you remember that, no? The efficient cause is agent intellect, but the phantasm is also efficient cause, but it is instrumental efficient cause. And my intellect is principal efficient cause. For example, you speak, you use a microphone, you talk in your parish, huh? You use a microphone, the microphone is the instrumental cause. You are the efficient cause. But if there is no power in the microphone, people will not understand. Or the speaker will not function. Okay? And finally, we have the final cause. It is the end. Finis means limits in Latin. Finis. The end. Telos in Greek. Telos. We call that theology. Teleology. So the existence of a thing or a phenomenon can depend on the end for which intent. And we call that also motive, goal, purpose, aim, finality, etc. All those that are the same, the end of an action. And they have a real influence because we act because there is an end, otherwise we will not act. No? And we can say everything exists, everything acts, operates for an end. Well, okay, I can ask you a question. Mosquitoes. Mosquitoes exist. If they exist for an end. What is exactly? Scientists did not understand everything, but they can say it is to feed birds. It is make people patient, practice patient.
Make the people sick.
Sometimes it's difficult to but there is nothing in vain. Everything which exists has its sufficient reason. You remember that? Principle of sufficient reason. There is a cause at the beginning. God created mosquitoes, and there is an end for that. There is a reason why. We don't know, we have to search for. You know? Okay? So we have two kinds of extrinsic final cause and intrinsic final cause. For example, extrinsic, it is for another substance. I study not to learn, but to make money. Okay? Intrinsic, so we call that finis operantis. You see that in ethics. Finis operantis. The end of the worker. Operantis, the end of the worker. I work to feed my children. That is, of course, I do a beautiful statue. That is the end of operis. Finis operis. The end of the work. Finis operis. That means that is the end of the worker. Here is the end of the work. The work in itself it is to produce a beautiful statue. But at the same time, we'll receive $50,000 for that sculpture. You know? We need to live. So finis operis, finis operantis. You have an extrinsic cause, you have an intrinsic cause. I study to develop my mind, for example, to know the truth, for the full development of the substance, or to complete the process itself, for example, the maturity of favoring the growth of corn, of potatoes, of fruit, you know. That is intrinsic. So we may have an extrinsic cause, or a finality, that means the finality added to the intrinsic finality. So everything has a sufficient reason. Everything was created for a sufficient reason. So when we study nature, we see all those little fish, but they are used to feed bigger fish. And bigger fish are used to, you know, the chain of eating. It's like that. There is a finality in nature. Many times we don't understand, I told you, but there must be a finality in that. No being exists without truth, without a reason, sufficient reason. Because the lone fact a thing exists, it is true. It is intelligible. It must be must have a reason for that. Okay. Okay. So on page 246, so the influence of the final cause. So we have to distinguish two levels: the level of intention and the level of execution in finality. The level of intention or the level of knowledge. Huh? The level of intention or knowledge and the level of execution. In the level of attention, the end is first. That means the motive, the end must be at the beginning of my intention. But in reality, it will be accomplished only at the end. I want, for example, to build a house. The intention of building a house is first in my mind. But the execution is the last in the reality. But they are linked. I will not build a house in reality if first there's not a final cause here. So the final cause is at the beginning in the intention of the architect, of the builder, of the owner, and it is last in the order of execution. We want to go to heaven. That is our intention. But we don't want the execution will come too fast. No? And there is a song in French. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Okay. But that final cause is a real cause. Huh? A real cause. It influences really my action. And when we want to discover something, we go to the motive. What makes, we see a dead body here, we are searching for the final cause, a motive. Okay? Exemplary cause, well, it is the influence exercised by a model, an exemplar, a model, on the operation of the agent. That means the efficient causality. When the agent is working, it has a model. And that model is a kind of form. That model is a kind of form. So the exemplar, the model, is we call an extrinsic formal cause. Extrinsic formal cause. At the same time, it is also a final cause. Well, I have a model. I want to copy the model in a painting. That is a final cause. But at the same time, it is also a formal extrinsic cause. Normally, the form is intrinsic. But here the form is coming from outside into my work. It's coming from outside to my mind into the work. To the work, you know. That is, sometimes they call that the extrinsic formal cause. But it can be considered also as part of the final cause, because when I want to do something, I have a model. When I want to build a house, I have a model, bungalow. I have a model. I want to reproduce a model. But the model, in fact, it is the form I will put into the matter. So the model is also the form. But it is not intrinsic first, it is extrinsic. But it will become intrinsic. If I have the form of a bungalow in my mind here, when I will realize it, the bungalow will be put into the matter. So the form I have in my mind, exemplary form, you know, will be put into the importance of model. You know, people want to imitate model, fashion. You see it. Fashion, but it is a cause. It is a final cause. We want to imitate Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson. At the same time, it is also informing the action of many kids. Huh? They want to do exactly like Michael Jackson or Elvis Presley, or they want to imitate model. You know? And that model becomes like a form, but an extrinsic form in their action. So the form is influencing the agent because of the final cause, but it is also within, entering in the mother like the form. It is a participation, if you want. Huh? In fact, the form I put into mother is conformed to the mother. Okay? And finally, we have the idea of participation. Participation, it is a concept related to causality. It signifies the derivation of temporal diversity from eternal unity and the structural dependence of many on the one. So that means from unity, from one to many, or from many to one. Well, it was the great question of the Greek, how we can explain that from many we have one, and how we can have one and produce many. For example, you have one model of Mazda, and you produce many Mazda. Or you have many parts in a car, and you have only one car. You know, and many parts in the body, we arrive to one body. That is a problem which plays in both. So, last paragraph. In natural philosophy, philosophy of God, participation is used to explain the complete dependence of creature on the Creator, in the order of efficient, exemplary, and final cause. You know, at the Mass, what the priest says when he put the water into the wine, may we share in the divinity of Christ, who share in our humanity. We share in the divinity of Christ, like Christ shared in our humanity. That is the idea of participation. And that idea is close to the idea of causality. To share, next page. It is an analogical concept. In the philosophical usage, it means to receive only part of what belongs to another fully. So I share in the intelligence of God. It is one of the proof of the existence of God. It is the intelligence of man. The perfection in the creature are participation because they are not perfect by themselves. They depend on another. You know? So that is very important. Man is said to share in animality. We share in animality. We cannot say, I am animal. All animality is realized in me. No. But a cat, a dog, an elephant, a flea share in animality. We have something in common, we take from that. And we depend on animality in different manner, but depend on animality. We receive something from animality. But we don't receive the total animality. It's the same with link with God. We receive the divine life through baptism. We don't receive the totality of God. Nobody can say I possess God. But we share in the divinity of Jesus. We are co-heir with Him, you know. That to be co-heir is a good example of participation. Suppose Bill Gates, in this will, say all the students in Holy Apostle become co-heir of my fortune. We stop studying here, we go to Rome. Okay. So, if you go to the bottom of page 284, participation, Jolivet, participation, is act of participation, of receiving a form as a part of its whole being. The participation of accident by a substance. The accident participates in the substance, in the existence of the substance. The substance exists, and accident share in the existence of the substance. If the substance does not exist, accidents stop existing. They share in, you know. Okay? It's the same. We have share in the big company, but if there is no money in the big company, we have no more share. We stop sharing. So, but we cannot possess everything. We possess a little bit. Okay? It's the same for reputation. If my father is the president of the United States, I share in in the glory of, you want, honor of my Father. Okay, page wisdom. I finished by that. I have 5 minutes for that. So we have a reflection on three qualities, metaphysical qualities. The first is wisdom. It is further wonder. Secondly, the intellectual virtue. Intellectual virtue of science concerning the first or supreme causes of all things. The supreme causes. It is the essence of metaphysics. It is the practice of metaphysics. Okay, wisdom. And it's also an application of metaphysics to our life. Okay, that is, metaphysics is a habit of mind. When you study in philosophy of man, we study habit and we study intellectual habit, remember? And we study moral habit, intellectual habit, wisdom, understanding, and habit of the first principle. Okay? That means we have the ability, we have acquired structure to operate, to think about the first causes easily, rapidly, and surely. To be a metaphysician, if you want. A wise man is a metaphysician, even if he does not know Aristotle. He studied the first causes of things at the beginning and at the end and between. The intrinsic causes, first cause, last cause, final cause, etc. Okay? Well, you can read that. Metaphysics is a wisdom, because we realize all the quality of wisdom. So you can read that by yourself on page 249. And you will discover that you are a wise man because now you study metaphysics. Metaphysics, a wise man is a man above, able to see things with a wide scope, and to see the beginning and to see farther than the end of the tip of his nose. That's a wise man. He can see far. He can see the consequences of his action. That's it. That's a wise man. He can take the right decision. Good discernment, good judgment. On page 250, metaphysics number 3 stands as the culmination of mental knowledge. The summit of mental knowledge is metaphysics. And the summit of metaphysics is philosophy of God. And the complement of that will be ethics. The way man now has to realize that in his life. Ethics is guided by a principle we call synderesis. That means the application of the first principle to his human action. So the habit of understanding, to grasp the reality, it is the insight. In philosophy of man, we saw that when we saw Eureka. Eureka. On the inside, when we are able to seize, to grasp the moment, that the habit of grasping things, understanding of insight, that is, it is a habit. Someone, they try, they make problem, but they never arrive to a solution. Like in ethics, people, they reflect and never arrive to a decision. It is a virtue to be able to take a decision. It is an intellectual virtue to arrive to an insight. Otherwise, you will never learn. We learn when we understand. And what is understanding? It is to catch, to grasp the insight. Eureka, I understand. And finally, you have the first principle, and the habit of the first principle. So, it is, in fact, understanding goes with the habit of the first principle. And practical function of those wisdom that it applied to our human action, it is we call synderesis. We see that in ethics. Synderesis is the habit of the first principle in its practical function. It is applicable to, especially in order of action, in order of moral action, especially moral action, synderesis. So when a man is able to use his judgment to discover the principle of moral life, for example, do good, avoid evil, that is the first principle. It is the beginning of synderesis. It is an intellectual virtue and that is linked with prudence. In other words, about intellectuality, is a mode according to which all is comprehended is one simple like an idea. You know, what makes a man understanding something? It is when he is able to make a synthesis. And you know, you will say, I take benefit of my studies when you are able to make a synthesis, to use what you learn. A doctor is a real doctor when he is able to take everything he studied during 5 years and apply that together to one patient. It is a kind of synthesis in medicine, you know. So in the human life is the same. We must arrive. The person, the most intelligent person is not the man who knows many things, like Pic de la Miranda, you know. He's not the one who has a huge knowledge. He's the one who is able to use correctly his knowledge, to use his judgment and use what he learned, but in a context. You know what I try many times to do in examination? I try to put my student into situations. So they can use what they learned and apply that to a circumstance. Otherwise, you know many things, but you cannot use them. And when you will preach in the future, you will teach. You will give advice to people. You have to use everything you learned before. If you don't understand that, if you don't assimilate that, you can. And the last page, I have a correction to do on the last page. Page 252. I read, being is the common formal subject. Is the common formal subject. Subject of metaphysics. So, being is the common formal subject of metaphysics. In fact, being is under everything. We can say also that is the object of metaphysics. So being is at the same time the subject of metaphysics. Everything is in being, but it is also the object because it is what we study in ontology, being. Okay, so with that we finish that part, and next class we begin epistemology. So it is the aspect of truth attached to being and the capacity we have to know the truth, if our knowledge is valuable. Well, this class try not to wait too long to understand that, because so if you have the opportunity this week to reflect on that, to read that, it's the best time. If you wait 2-3 weeks, you will forget everything. Now it's time. Don't wait for, especially for that chapter. Okay, thank you for your participation. I admire you because it is a very difficult chapter. Okay.
Thank you, Father.
Welcome.
Father, how does
And